have a panelist, Professor Dr. Abdul Wadud Chaudhary, sir, with us. He is the head of the department and professor of cardiology of Dhaka Medical College. Now, I will request Dr. Monful from India, Dr. Monful Singhal, to present his topic. Dr. Monful Singhal is the additional professor, radio diagnosis and imaging from PGIMER, Chandigarh, India. He has done his MD, DNB, MA, MS, FICR from India, FSCCT from USA, MR Fellowship from London, CMR certification. He has lots of publications, including 86 PubMed publications. He has got so many awards and achievements like Fellow Society of Cardiac Computed Tomography, Fellow Indian Radiology and Imaging Association, Member National Academy of Medical Science, CMR certification from France, RSNA IRIA Awards, and he was invited as speaker in national and international meetings. Now we are looking forward to hear his experience on cardiac MR. I request Dr. Monful Singhal to present his topic.
Thank you. The BSRI is a good friend of mine. I don't see myself separate from BSRI. It has been a great relationship since I was in. Just a minute. I think my screen is visible. My screen is visible, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and to begin with, let me thank Dr. Abdul Wadud Chaudhary, who is the chairperson for this evening, which is dedicated for cardiac imaging. So, to begin with, the topic that we are going to covering is on cardiac MR. We will discuss basics, its indications, and as discussed, we will take one or two cases for viability imaging, because if somebody is interested to start his cardiac MRI services, at least I advocate and to start with viability imaging. So, greetings and namaste from India and salam walaikum. And it has been a pleasure to listen Bangla after a long time that I used to love and learned also when I was in Dhaka. So I have no disclosures and no conflict of interest. So when we talk of CMR, we talk of three things. We talk of three things. We talk of structure, we talk of function, because it's a dynamic examination. We can see all the wall motion abnormalities and contractility, how the wall motion changes. And we talk of tissue characterization. We talk of structures. So basically we do black blood axials, bright blood coronals. That will keep on, I'm repeating the term so that it doesn't, you get accustomed to the terms. When we talk of function, the heart is a moving organ. So we need to have cine sequences that we do in various planes. And the workhorse for cardiac MR as of now is balanced, steady state, free precision sequences, because it gives a very high SNR from the from the myocardium, which appears black, and the moving blood that appears very bright. When we talk of tissue characterization, we try to look for the myocardial edema, for short tau inverse recovery scans and mapping that has come in the last, and the late gadolinium enhancement. So what are the challenges? How this MR is different for body imaging? As introduction, sir has introduced Khalil Rahman, sir. MR is a new thing. It may be a new, but it is fantastic, and though it's challenging, but it's fantastic. The challenges are, we are trying to image a beating heart in a moving cage. So we have to take care of two things. We have to take care of the beating heart, and we have to take off respiration. So our temporization should be so high that we should be physiologically trying to freeze the heart. And we understand that we can stop respiration, but we cannot stop beating heart. So we need to have some compensation in place. So we have ECG gating for that. For respiration, we have respiratory motion compensation or respiratory gating that we'll see later on. Another challenge is, the heart is not in the plane of body, means it is not lying in either in coronal, sagittal or axial planes. So we have to create a planes according which are akin to the echocardiography. This is very important to know and evaluate the function and to communicate the findings to the referring physician. Another thing, as far as CT is is an examination that takes very short time. Vis-a-vis MR takes a long time. So we have to be pragmatic and we need to know what information we are looking for or anticipating cardiac MR. This is very, very important. Just a form like cardiac MR doesn't mean anything. So we need to have a specific indication so that we can customize our examination and finish off in the shortest possible time. So what is the mantra of the purposeful CMR? We need to have an appropriateness, whether is this in what a particular case or a problem that we are looking for is appropriate. Once we know that is appropriate, then we have comes to an acquisition. Acquisition means it should be customized. And once both the things are in place, then comes in interpretation. If anything goes wrong, it is a problem for the patient, cardiologist, and the radiologist. All will lie in soup. So we need to be very, very specific what we are requesting for. And the trade-off is between resolution, SNR, and acquisition time, with the aim that we need to finish our scan in the shortest possible time that provides all relevant information, which is devoid of artifacts and patient discomfort. So what is the ABC of CMR? The ABC of CMR is appropriateness or the indication of examination. Some may ask what is the magnet, whether it's 1.5 or 3 Tesla, which is important. I think 1.5 Tesla is the best because 3 Tesla, as we go the higher strength imaging, there is a lot of flow artifacts. The persons who are want to start for cardiac imaging, 1.5 Tesla is good enough. And when we talk of B, it is preparation planning that we'll see. Then C is for senior sequences that gives us the contra for the dynamic information and the contrast that gives us perfusion and the late gadolinium enhancement as a D part. Then emerging sequences we'll talk of, then we'll talk of flows. So if you go to the management classes, they always tell us if for any success, we need to concentrate on 5 P's. So these are my 5 P's for cardiac imaging. Means prior, we need to know how the patient is to be prepared before the patients come to the imaging gantry. Then we need how to do to prepare the patients, how to put ECG electrodes, how to ensure that the respiratory grating is in place, peripherals, how the safety is to be managed. Then prevents means whether the line is in place, ECG cables are not knotted, and then finally comes the performance. If all the 5 P's in place, if we know ABC of CMR, what we are looking for, then things are easy. Okay, now see how we take care of various challenges that we have discussed. So first we think of the cardiac compensation or the motion compensation. This is an animated video. If we see, the heart is beating and it's moving with respiration. So we have to freeze both. Now, how can we do that? And what are the challenges here? Acquisition when the cardiac MR came in place used to be long, but still we need at least 20 seconds for a single 2D slice when we do an acquire. But however, the new things like parallel imaging, with that, still you require a breath hold of 10 to 15 seconds, where we can acquire not just one slice, we can acquire multiple slices in a single breath hold. If we don't do this, still you image, but if you don't get a diagnostic quality images, everything is waste. So for cardiac compensation and respiratory compensation, our compensation should be so good that both the motions are just frozen during data equation and there is no motion artifacts. And we'll see how we can do that. How we do a cardiac and the respiratory compensation is we do an ECG tracing, and either it can be in single phase acquisition that we do for a static sequences, but when we do for a scenic sequences, it has to be throughout the cycle, and then they are built to give a single phase and a single slice multi-phase acquisition. And for respiratory synchronization, either you can put a bellows or you can put a navigator. And this how we do at RPGI. This is how we place our the ECG electrodes is a vector ECG electrodes, and we must ensure that cables are not knotted because this electric currents that comes from a wide magnet can distort the ECG. So for the patient setup, you ensure that there is the hairs are just cleaned off at the places where the ECG electrodes are placed. You can put an impedance reducing gels that are commercially available. Then ensure, tell the patients, you put a respiratory below over here, give him a emergency bell with the hand, ensure that the cardiac coil is nicely covered over the chest, ensure that the patient is comfortably down with, if he's feeling, we can give him a blanket or not. This is very important. Until the patient is comfortable, their examination will not be good. Another thing, it will increase the examination time. So, I always tell the good planning is very important because it reduces the patient time inside the bore and you have a better probability of getting a successful study. So once the patient is inside, you've ensured that ECG gating is plain, respiratory gating is in place. Just see to it how is the ECG gating. You are getting a tall RR waves, and this is a respiration thing. And once you do this, tell the patient to have hold your breath in expiration, see whether it is trying to hold the expiration, because this is important for our the subsequent scannings that is going to take place. Okay, once these things are in place, now we'll go to the basics of cardiac MR. So when we talk of CMR, so we'll talk of two things. This is very important. Once we talk of pulse sequences, when we talk of pulse sequences, what are the images that we get are of basically two types. Either they will be static images or they will be cine images, or they can be black blood images or bright blood images. Black blood means the flowing blood will be black in appearance. Bright blood means the blood will be bright in appearance. So pulse sequences, static and cine, they can be black blood or bright blood. Then imaging planes will be akin to the heart or akin to the echo sequences. Traditionally, we say the horizontal short axis, which is a 4-chamber view, vertical long axis is a 2-chamber view, short axis stack is from the base to apex of heart. 3-chamber, LVOT, RT, this all is going to come subsequently. So in cardiac MR, we had talked there are two types of images that you got. One is black blood. Black blood is usually for morphology and edema. White blood is restricted or is reserved for morphology and function. And the delayed enhancement can be either a black blood or blood blood. That this black blood LG is a new concept that is coming, but these are inverse recovery sequences in which myocardium appears black, so that a little of LG is picked up very nicely. So this is the protocol that we follow. We'll go in detail subsequently. Now, pulse sequences, if you have to begin with, what we do a dark blood imaging that gives you the anatomy. And traditionally, they are spin echo sequences, but they are getting replaced by inverse recovery prepared pulses. Then is the bright blood imaging. So one thing that we need to know from this webinar is somebody asked, what is the workhorse of cardiac MR? It is a balanced, free, precision sequences. SSFP sequence that comes with different names with different vendors. Then the contrast enhanced sequences, that is to tell about the myocardial characterization. And in that, we again do as an SFP sequence, but an IR preparation so that the myocardium appears jet black. Then the phase contrast sequences are for flow quantification. Edema imaging typically STEP. There's the triple inverse recovery scan to take up the myocardial edema. Then we'll discuss the additional imaging parameters that are available, especially the mapping T1, T2 maps and ECV. Discuss upon T1 and T2, especially that is restricted for the tumor cardiac evaluation. So let's have a slightly detail about what is dark blood imaging. The dark blood imaging I already told is traditionally T1 and T2 sequences, but with the advent of turbo and fast spin echo, the imaging time has reduced. And we'll see the images, and these images are for planning and to know the cardiac anatomy or the mediastinal anatomy. If you see the traditional spin echo sequences, you can see the heart, the chambers, but they are blood, they are not good. If you vis-a-vis the turbo spin echo sequences, they are much better. But if it is the inverse and double inverse recovery sequences, which is classically HASTE, you see the borders and you see the morphology of the cardiac chambers appears very nicely, and they are very fast sequences. So our intent is to make the sequences fast, precise, with a good quality images. Okay, what is another addition into the dark blood imaging is a stage sequence. Stage sequence that we frequently do for our musculoskeletal imaging. The same we do it for the myocardium, and we do section at the time when myocardium, blood, and fat are null. so that any pathology in the myocardium, especially the edema, is picked up very nicely. And these are the typical stir sequences in which the blood will be black and the myocardium is like this. And any change, if you see, if there is an edema, especially in this case, it will appear very bright. The bright blood imaging, I already told and already discussed. The workhorse for cardiac MR is the bright blood imaging. And this bright blood imaging, we have two sequences. One is the GRE sequences, which was previously available, but we don't use GRE sequences as of now, especially in some compelling situations. But otherwise, it is the SSFP sequence. Steady state free precision. Steady state free precision is a workhorse for cardiac MR. Why? Because if you see these are the GRE sequences, they are not good sequences. The myocardium and the signal ratio to the blood is not that good. If we see the same sequences in SSFP sequence, you see the myocardium appears black, the blood appears very bright, and you have a good SNR between the myocardium and the blood. Okay, so why this cine sequences? Cine sequences, the heart is a moving organ. So we need to comment upon its function and the contractility and how the myocardium changes with each contraction. So this information can only be provided by any sequence that give us the motion information, and that is the SSCP sequence. And when we acquire the cine sequences, it's retrospective gating. And with the new scanners, we can have a parallel imaging, which can increase the temporal resolution and increase the number of slice acquisition in per breath hold. But it takes away slightly, at the expense of SNR. SNR reduces with the parallel imaging. But sometimes when the patient cannot hold the breath requisitely, then definitely this has to chip in. For retrospective gating, it is always a multi-phase equation. So I'm not going to details into it. We take multiple, in MR, we talk of slice and phase. In slice, there are various phases from systole to diastole. And slice is a particular place where we take our equation. So if is say this is one slice, and these are the multiple phases from diastole to systole. You take multiple equation in different RR intervals, then you combine them and form a single cine image of a particular phase that we'll see later on. Another comes the late gadolinium enhancement. This is how we characterize the myocardium, and gadolinium is the contrast. And remember one thing, in cardiac MR, anything that appears in myocardium is abnormal or dead, whether it's fibrosis, whether it's edema. So this is how, when we inject gadolinium, it gets, when the interstitial compartment is expanded, either with a scar or with other infiltrative disorders like amyloid, the gadolinium preferentially goes over there and fail to excrete, and that's how it appears bright as bright images. Here we can see there's a subendocardial enhancement versus a transmural enhancement in the region of LED. How, and this is also an important slide that tells you about the contrast kinetics of LGE. If we give a contrast injection, this is how the things are seen. If you see, this is the blood pool, and we take our this is the first pass that we do in myocardial perfusion. Wait for some time, and this is the time when we take an image where the difference between the infarcted myocardium and the no reflow zone is the maximum, so that the contrast, the information that you get or the enhancement you get has the maximum contrast between the normal and the abnormal myocardium. Appears slightly tough, but it's not that tough as well. Okay, what is how we characterize the different pathology on LGE? Because we know the coronary arteries are end arteries, and they have a territorial blood supply. So once then one artery is involved, the typical characteristic ischemic pattern is noted. So based on the LGE pattern of involvement, we can distinguish various pathologies. Ischemic will be territorial, and they will extend from subendocardial to epicardium. And there are multiple other diseases which is a specific pattern for involvement, say myocarditis, mid-myocardial, lateral wall, sarcoidosis, anteroseptal wall, adrenal fibrosis disease, lateral wall. There are so many things. Okay, now this is a slide to reiterate what we had discussed, and we are trying to put every sequence and plane into one basket. So how we start with? When we start with take and scouts, which are in typical axial, coronal, and sagittal plane, these are static images. Then we take pilot sequences in vertical long axis and short axis, and from there we take different stacks. Okay, so that's how we go in. Patient is in gantry. You have, as you get in gantry in the region of the heart, you take these. This is the automatically generated the three planes. This is sagittal, coronal, and axial. Once you get it, then we have to create different planes akin to the orientation of heart, which will be short axis, horizontal long axis, and vertical long axis. And how we do that? This is how we do that. Once you get these things, you put a shim box around the heart so that you don't have an artifacts, and you take a stack of axial images, which can either be black blood or bright blood depending on one's preferences. They can be in axial plane, one can be in axial plane, other can be in coronal plane. Both can be black blood, both one can be black blood, another can be in bright blood. So this is how we can prepare as we do in CT. Okay, so once you do in CT, so this is how you get a stack of these images. Okay, so these are the stack of images that starts from the diaphragm to the apex of the chest. These are just like CT to give you the broad picture, whether you are looking for any pleural effusion, pericardial effusion, what is the status of greater arteries, or and then holistic, whether the ventricles are dilated or not. But these are just to give you an overview what you are seeing it. Once you have done that, we select one slice in which you see all the four chambers. Okay. So once you have seen the four chambers, we draw a line which passes to the ventricular apex to the mid of the mitral wall. Okay. Once you do that, you get an VLA or a two-chamber pilot. This is our in Cine sequence. Okay. So once you do that, then comes the step number 2, or in from the start, it is a step number 4. So what you do, we take 3 slices which goes perpendicular to the IV septum, and you do in both the transverse image on the 4 chamber and the VLA, and here you get the short axis pilot. They are near short axis, they are not true short pilots, because till yet we have not started our true planes. This is only our exercise to make true planes later on. So once you have VLA sequences, you have the short axis chambers. You select the mid-ventricular slice, and what you do is you orient your slice in such a way that it passes to the, this is RV, this is LV, it passes to the mid LV and goes to the RV apex, and the same on the two chamber goes from the ventricular apex to myocardium. And when you do that, you get a true 4-chamber view. As the name suggests, you see all the 4 chambers: RV, RA, LA, RA, and RV. Okay, so this is our first cine sequence that we have got from MR. Till before that, it was all planning. So once you have this, then we go ahead. This is the fourth chamber that you got. These are the short axis views. So what you do, you plan your line in such a way that it goes parallel to the IV septum, and with this you get a true short chamber view or the VLA view. So once you do that, then we have to see in some cases, especially of the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, in which we have to see the inflow tract and the outflow tract of the RV. So how you do that? You select the same VLA plane, make a pass a line through the LV, go to the mitral wall apex, and in the short axis slice, this slice has to go from the LVOT view, and this is how you get this plane. It seems maybe difficult as this as of now, but it is not that difficult. Once we start doing that, it becomes easy. And the short axis stack is the workhorse of our MR, where we calculate all our volumes. So what you do, you take a 4-chamber view, you take a 2-chamber view, make your stacks that come from base to apex. I always tell a formula of 10. Either it should be a 6 mm slice with 4 mm gap, or an 8 mm slice with 2 mm gaps. And the temporal resolution between the two planes should be less than 45 milliseconds. And parallel imaging, I have discussed before, you can bring in if the patient is a poor respiratory breath hold. That is a frequent problem. And with this, you get this type of short axis stack that cover from base to apex. And with this, we calculate our volumes. After doing this, you can have a stack of stir sequences. Stir sequences has to be done in 3 slices from base to apex, 1 slice of VLA and 1 slice of HLA to cover whole of the myocardium. Okay, so once we have given the contrast as a first pass perfusion, we have to do an early gadolinium enhancement images in all the 3 planes, 3 slices in short axis, 1 slice in VLA and 1 slice is in HLA. And this early gadolinium enhancement help us to differentiate or to pick up the tumor thrombus or from the thrombus, which will appear jet like this. So this is an thrombus. This in case of electromyocardial fibrosis, in which you can see small laminar thrombus which is stuck to the ventricular apex. Then either you can do flows in between the early gadolinium enhancement and the late gadolinium enhancement, or you can bring this after the late gadolinium enhancement. So these are phase contrast sequences in which we have to take the measurements perpendicular to that artery. So this is an aorta, so we have to take perpendicular to that. With the pulmonary artery, we have to take perpendicular to that. Same thing that we do in Dopplers. Okay, so these are our EEG images. LG images that we are going to take in subsequent various examples. Now let's talk of some newer sequences. The newer sequences is in our pathology days, we had seen the basic staining method is hematoxylin and eosin, but this things has given us a new things. Just like to different staining methods, T1, T2 mappings, it gives an holistic picture of the myocardium. LG may go to only a or to overt pathology, but the other myocardium may be involved, which might be missed by LG. So this gives us a new things, and these are giving open doors for new things which were never diagnosed, like amyloid, like sarcoid, like myocarditis, and so forth. So here, till yet, we have completed the basics of cardiac MR, which was various sequences and various planes. Now we talk the indications of CMR, which are expanding day and night, with heart failure, which it gives you every holistic information, ischemic heart disease, viability imaging, then non-ischemic cardiomyopathies, which may be hypertrophic, arrhythmogenic ventricular cardiomyopathies, then infiltrative disorders, T2 star for measuring hemocarditis, myocarditis is coming a very new way, which presents like an acute myocardial infarction, then valvular heart disease, especially for post-op patients, aortic stenosis, aortic regurgitations. Then, you know, this cardiac message, it has revolutionized how we look at cardiac message. It only just tell you about the shape, size, attachment, characterized from tumor, from thrombosis, and so forth. Pericardial diseases can very well distinguish the constrictive versus restrictive diseases, and it's a gold standard for diagnosing constrictive pericarditis now. Then congenital heart disease, that itself is a big topic. So I thought, and what we discussed when we talk of this thing, so we start with the very basics. Somebody wants to start, it's a viability imaging. So what is viability? Any dysfunctional myocardium that is subtended by diseased coronary arteries and has a potential for functional recovery is myocardial viability. So there's a word we need to about what is very specific coronary imaging. That are the epicardial arteries, there are end arteries. If we see on these images, so these are territorial supplies, and there is hardly any the anastomosis. And once the artery is diseased or occluded, the myocardial necrosis is proportionate to time. Means more the delay, more is the myocardial necrosis. So this is how it begins when the artery is occluded. We already told it's an epicardial vessel, they are end vessels. So this is how the myocardium necrosis appears like. There's a loss of architecture and the loss of the uniform myocardial fibers. As we talked, the myocardium necrosis is in proportion to time. What does it mean? It is described as a wavefront phenomenon. Means, see, if we think there's an ischemic event at this point or occlusion, within 20 minutes there is a myocardial edema. If it's always, in fact, if we go to the guidelines, any guidelines of any societies, especially in the Western world, they see the patient who gets a call of myocardial infarction has to be on table within 90 minutes. The rationale is the early is the better. The delay, as you delay more than 6 hours, myocardium gets dead. And this how it is at the origin. This myocardium is edematous. If you delay it, there is subendocardial enhancement, necrosis. As more delayed gets into the mid myocardium, and finally it becomes transmural. So this how, and with this principle, this principle is, is comes into the cardiac MR we'll see in the images. So it's a race against time. So why we are talking of MR when we have so many other modalities, from PET, SPECT, and other modalities that is available? Because if we see this, one of the representative features which compares in animal models from histology, SPECT, and MR. MR actually pinpoints to the area of pathology with an vis-a-vis SPECT, which it give information indirectly, and it fails to characterize whether it is subendocardial, transmural. So MR, is coming in a very big way. Only caveat is that it is not freely available. So that we have already discussed. It's a very high spatial resolution. It accurately locates an extent of myocardial necrosis. It has a high signal ratio, and it evaluates very well viable from non-viable myocardium. Even 1 gram of myocardium you can detect on cardiac MR. So this is the protocol, straightforward. Just patient in the bore, take the axial coronal that comes within seconds. Then you take a pilot scan. Pilot scan you take in VLA and 3 slices of short axis. Based upon that, you prepare your scan and you take a stack of short axis, single slice of HLA, single slice of VLA, single slice of 3-chamber, inject contrast, do EEG sequences and LGE sequences at 10 to 15 minutes, and that's a viability imaging. In fact, once you've done this, he covers majority of the cardiac disease as well. So for viability data set, what you require all the cine sequences in all the planes. So is the LG for in all the planes for location and extent. And this is the 17, AHA model, which is used by cardiologists and nuclear physicians to tell how we should be accustomed about this, because this tells you about which area is supplied with which artery. I think I'm stuck. Okay, so let's quickly go to this one case. I'm getting stuck. If we see these cases, so let's revise our planes. This is 4 plane, this is a 4-chamber VLA, this is 3-chamber. If we see the ventricular is somewhat dilated, with the septum, this the anterior wall is slightly thickened, the inferior wall is thinned out and is akinetic to hypokinetic. If we see the same thing, the lateral wall is thinned out, and we can see it is just forming an aneurysm over here. Same if you see the mid cavity and the base, they are thinned out and akinetic. Okay, if we see the same on our late gadolinium enhancement, we see this in, can you see this bright area? Bright area on 4-chamber, 3-chamber, and this is a transmural, and it is territorial. If we have to if you put our data into this bullseye model, it is the segment 6, segment 11 and 12, and apex at the segment 16. So what does it infer? Out of 17 segments, there are 4 segments which are involved, and the fibrosis is transmural. On functional imaging, they are akinetic. Which territory they belong to? LCX. So what will you on inference? They are non-viable. What does that mean? If you reperfuse this LCX, it will be futile. There will be no functional recovery. Let's go to the second case very fast. If we see this axis stack of short axis, or for that matter this 4-chamber and the 2-chamber views, we see the same over here. The inferior wall is akinetic, the lateral wall shows hypokinesis. Okay, so if you draw all this on a bullseye, the lateral wall is hypokinetic, so it is blue. Yellow, the segment inferior walls are akinetic, so they are blue. And these are the territorial segments that we can discuss sometime later on. If we go to the LGE sequences, The same sequence you see, this is a subendocardial enhancement vis-a-vis this type of enhancement, which is transmural. This is a transmural. This is subendocardial. So if we have to put our data on to the bullseye, so the lateral segment were, what were our lateral segments? They were hypokinetic, and these segments are showing subendocardial enhancement vis-a-vis the inferior segments, which are transmural, and they were akinetic. So what does that mean? The inferior segments are non-viable and the lateral segments are viable. So in these patients, if you do a stenting, it will help us. Okay, so coming to our last slides. So what are the various pulse sequences? Black blood for anatomy, SFP for function, workhorse of MR is SSFP, cardiac planes knowledge is the key, and the late gallium enhancement gives us the information of SCA. As far as viability is concerned, is now coming as a gold standard, and we must understand that gives a direct information, and more than 50% LAG makes that tissue non-viable. With this, I end my talk, and thanks you again, BSRI, and all friends from the Bangladesh. It is always a great opportunity to be a part of BSRI. Thank you very much.